What's going on, YouTube? We got our monthly PvP report for gacha games because we got the Sensor Tower report. All the revenue report for the mobile platforms are out right now, and we got the man of the hour, Zenless Zone Zero's very first month of being on the market. And I wanted to look at them and see how things are going because, well, look at that. You see right at the top. Zenless Zone Zero did a whopping 96 million in its first month. That's insane. And it's kind of crazy to me. Well, it's not crazy to me at all. I knew it was going to be very successful. But I think it's really funny to see that when you see how like all of these English content creators were just shitting on the game, calling it boring, like especially like the first impression videos. The first impression videos were rough. And to be fair, I also think that my first couple hours of Zenless Zone Zero, my first couple hours, like 2 hours, are fun, but then the next 4 to 5 weren't great. I think I definitely had a dip in those hours, which definitely, I think I can understand why a lot of the first impression videos weren't that positive on the game because of it. But now that the game has been almost gone through its entire 1.0 patch cycle, a lot of people have been able to go through almost all the content in the game, finally try out the End of Shield defense, try out the 11 out of 11 holo and stuff like that. You get to see a little bit more of these kinds of things that the game has to offer. But I think that it's like a good point. It's a good point. But I wanted to talk about one thing that was brought up. I know Gotcha Smack also brought this up. I brought this up when I first saw this list on the Reddit. But I wanted to look at what Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail doing here. At third and fourth place, like they got dethroned by Love and D Space, which is kind of crazy, especially an Otome game getting overtaking Genshin and Honkai Star Rail. Even in dead patches, that's kind of crazy. But if you look at the revenue dip here, compared to with Zenless Zone Zero, we're only getting to around like 100 and like I think it was like what 68 million I calculated. I don't know. It was like 168 million when I looked at this the first time, and I looked at it and I was thinking like, wait a second, 168 million on the opening month of Zenless Zone Zero? Isn't that really low? And so as you can see on all my tabs here, I went through and I looked back at a lot of the previous months here to see how good did HSR and Genshin perform in these previous months. The striking thing to me here was that Zenless Zone Zero's release date here did not actually cause MiHoYo to outpace their previous highs, which is actually really crazy to me. Because if we go back to good old, where is April? Here is April. We go back to April and March. April and March were insane for Genshin and Honkai Star Rail. March we had Acheron release. We had the we just had Acheron release, I think. And then Genshin was at 68 million. That's over 200 million. And then the next month, again, Genshin went up to 120 million. HSR only went down to 109. And so we still had over 200 million in total revenue for MiHoYo. But then we keep going. So like, okay, over here, you know, May, it was only like around like 140 or so million. You know, pretty much lower. And then we go back up here and we have like 158 million in June. And then July here, we only have like 168 million. So despite Zenless Zone Zero doing really well, almost hitting 100 million in its opening release, MiHoYo as a whole is actually only like 14 million over the previous month. And then comparing it to the highs, the absolute highs that we've had with Genshin and HSR, ZZZ's release week wasn't even able to get there. And that's a bit crazy to me because I thought with how ZZZ was aiming, like ZZZ's entire thing was that it was being different from HSR and Genshin. They're still like the same gacha model, but a lot of the aesthetics, a lot of the gameplay design was similar to HI3. So it was very different in total, as the collaboration roundtable with Street Fighter 6, aiming for fighting game players, stuff like that. There's a lot of differences in how it was handling itself compared to Genshin and Honkai Star Rail. But despite that, the revenue didn't change at all. yeah, dude. Hey, MiHoYo's crashing. It's over. EOS in 2 weeks. No, obviously, none of these games are gonna EOS. First off, MiHoYo knows the value of user trust. They're not gonna EOS their games. HI3 is down on this list at like 4 million or something like that, 3 to 4 million, and you know that game still is chugging along. Zenless Zone Zero, though, surprisingly, failed to capture a new audience. Instead, we are still sitting below the market cap of what MiHoYo has hit. And I was like thinking like, okay, maybe when I first saw this number, I thought, maybe MiHoYo hit the market cap for how much we can get in a month. But then I looked back at these months. Acheron month, I think this month was Farina rerun, maybe? I'm not sure. I don't actually know what happens with Genshin, to be honest. But a Farina rerun would not surprise me with 120 million. And it got over 200 million 2 months in a row. That's insane. And meanwhile, ZZZ's release didn't even crack 170 million. So we from like a suit perspective, let's put on our capitalism suits. If we were an executive at MiHoYo, this is a little bad in terms of scaling your audience, because you hired an entirely new team. You have this whole new team of employees making this whole new game. Basically, we are tripling development costs. We have a whole other game on our burden of development costs. But the reach didn't go very far. And especially with what I've seen from how I've been playing ZZZ and how I've been enjoying it, it feels different than Genshin and Honkai Star Rail. But despite that, it didn't actually garner much of a new audience. Now, we can't say that for certain. Once we get to lower weeks, more dead patches maybe, if the revenue is overall higher than the lower dead patches that we've had with like this one, May, like this one was a lower patch for HSR and everything. If we can keep the revenue level higher on these lower patch days than normal, you know, that's still a win. That's still a win for ZZZ. It's done its part. It's raised revenue in total. I guess it's a little bit of a disappointment for ZZZ on my end that ZZZ hasn't really broken itself out of anything. ZZZ is still third child to HSR and Genshin. And opening month is the most you're gonna get for a while. We need to wait until we get our own Acheron, till we get our own Farina, our own Nahida. Was Yelan Hu Tao banner, I think, did very well too, from what I know in Genshin. Like we need those types of banners to come to ZZZ for it to even like come back up. Because now for at least like the next like probably 2/3 of the next year, it's just probably going to be on a steady decline, just like HSR. HSR also had a great first week with Zile, but then every successive banner, it went down until Danheng Il, it went back up, but it was still all, you know, Zile eclipsed everything. And that was the same with Genshin's early years too. Venti eclipsed everyone for a long time, and it wasn't until like Raiden Shogun and stuff happened that it even came back up and brought back the revenue. And that's also very rare. It's very rare for a gacha game, or just live service games in general, to reverse their declining status quo, where they just kind of maintain their good players, their hardcore players, and then get a whole new audience and keep raising it past that. Now, HSR and Genshin has both done that. So I think ZZZ is pretty likely to be the third, but we don't have XPs and shit like that in this game to really like drum a pipe like we did with Raiden, from going from HI3 to Genshin to HSR. We don't have any of that. So ZZZ is gonna have to work from the ground up to make their biggest hype banners. But we did have that trailer. I never watched the trailer, but apparently it was like a series of characters that were supposed to be like really hype characters, kind of like the Archons of the ZZZ world. So we have that coming. So we'll see how well they do. But you know, for the next coming months, everything is probably going to be on a downward trend. I think everything will be on, it's safe to say it's going to be on a downward trend until then. Yeah, I also think, well, we have to wait till power creep comes in if we're going to think about character kits like that. Because, you know, like, power creep in 1.0 isn't super hard. Like, you're gonna get some more numbers, some more flexibility, but it's not gonna completely change things. But then in 2.0, you're gonna get power creep up the wazoo. We got Acheron. I mean, Ruan Mei was the end of 1.0, but we had Acheron, Ruan Mei, Firefly, and HSR. And this is following the HSR model of character releases. So I think 2.0, we could expect some kind of crazy thing. Because we're already getting that with PubSec. Because PubSec and ZZZ doesn't have their entire squad in the game, they got generic core passives, which is you don't need to run them with a PubSec member. You just need to run them with Element or a role. With Zuyan is with a supporter, so I'm pretty sure the next PubSec characters are also going to be the same like that, because we're not going to get all of them until the end of 1.1. So because of that, we already have like way more flexibility using Zuyan in teams than you do having Lycon and Rena and stuff like that, because they're tied to either Element or Faction. Yeah, we don't have all the factions filled out. I think we can expect that going forward when the new factions release, as they get drip fed to us. We're not gonna be able. They're not gonna have faction locked passives, because they're only gonna have like 1 or 2 out at the time when they come out, and that's not enough. They're probably gonna be 5 stars. Like they're probably gonna be like 2 5 stars. Then we'll get the 4 star. So they can't enforce a faction based core passive when they only have 2 of the characters in the game. You know, that's too much. Granted, I think Sokaku's the only. Sokaku is the only one in the base roster, I think, that has a faction that doesn't have anyone else in the faction with her. Yeah, Sokaku's the only one. So, but that's a base 4 star. 4 stars. Oh, Soldier also has faction? Again, base 5 star. The base roster, I expect them to have factions, but I do not expect any new limited characters to have a faction lock like that, you know? Yeah, I think unfortunately though, from what we've seen, it's going to be 3 S ranks and 1 A rank. Because we know Seth is the A rank, and then we have Jane Doe and Chinyi, I don't fucking know. Chinyi as are the 2 limited S ranks for PubSec. So we're getting the last 4 of PubSec in 1.1. So yeah, that's ZZZ's revenue. And I'm wondering now, the big thing here with what MiHoYo got going on now is that they have 3 games they can rotate big patches on. But I don't know how well ZZZ's big patches will be just yet. It's unknown territory to us. We don't have XPs or anything like that to really hype it up. So we need to wait for the coming months to see how the revenue trend is going to be with ZZZ. In its off months, is it going to be the lowest of the 3 with everything having an off month? We don't know. But MiHoYo has 3 games to rotate now. And what that means is that you can actually rotate a big patch every single game. And so for an individual game, it will just be one big patch every 3 patches. But if you're playing the entire HoYo ecosystem, if you're in that whole thing, then you'd be getting like a big patch into a big patch into a big patch. For ZZZ, then Genshin with Natlan, then HSR with something, then back to ZZZ. So HoYoverse could have this cycle going on and just like vice grip the finances of its audience right now. It's interesting to see. That's the real question though. Can MiHoYo sustain that hype? And would that hype train of having a big patch for the entire ecosystem, just rotating it, would that burn out people? Because to be honest, the audience has a fuck ton of money. Again, if we go back to April, May, March, if we go back, just HSR Genshin was 200 million in 2 successive months just on mobile. This is just on mobile. So that's 200 million in 2 successive months. There's a lot of money in the HoYoverse ecosystem. And granted, I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the HoYoverse ecosystem doesn't just play HoYoverse games. If HoYoverse can clamp down on them to keep spending money in their ecosystem over going to other gacha games like Wuthering Waves or like Nikkei or Blue Archive and stuff like that, you know, MiHoYo is winning in the end. So they could potentially burn out their whales by trying to keep a hype patch going in the ecosystem every time. Or, you know, it could pay dividends and then they're going to monopolize the revenue from their whales, and then the whales aren't gonna go whale on other games because they're already whaling on 3 fucking MiHoYo games, and that might be too much for them to handle anything else. So yeah, we'll see. I think this is interesting, but we'll have to see whether or not Zenless Zone Zero can carve out its own audience, or if it's gonna play third fiddle to Genshin and HSR. Granted, we can't say that for now, as HSR was playing second fiddle to Genshin for a long time, and then it really established itself, and then now it is trading places with Genshin for first place all the time. So ZZZ could happen like that. Once a couple patches in, it can start hitting its stride, getting its audience, and then it can start just trading places again with Genshin and HSR for first place. So that's a bit exciting to see for us monthly PvP watchers here. So I'm excited for that. Anyways, let's look at the other games real quick before we end off this video. And so Wuthering Waves actually had a pretty big drop down. It dropped out of top 5 with Dokkan Battle having a massive jump up. It dropped out of top 5, and the interesting thing here was that Wuthering Waves, despite how much hate it was getting in China for a long time, it didn't really have much of a drop off in China. It was only like 2.8 million. Not that much. But Wuthering Waves on global had a whopping 15 million drop, despite Jinchi and Changli happening here. And Changli was so hyped. Changli's like my favorite character in the game to play, like bar none. And it had a huge drop. Granted, I've heard that just like Firefly's release, Wuthering Waves was like frozen for like a day or two near Changli's release. That is reflected in that, but it's still a pretty big drop off, which is unfortunate to see. And so hopefully Wuthering Waves can keep its stride going, even though I think the next patch is going to be pretty rough. The two characters going into it don't have anywhere near the hype that Changli and Jinxie had, so it's probably going to drop down even more next month. But you know, it's still doing very well for itself. Top 6 is crazy good. Other stuff going on here. Uma Musume is at 11 million, which is pretty crazy too. Nikke, fuck Nikke, dude. Yo, fuck Nikke though, dude. I hate Nikke. Nikke needs to die. I'm as a former hardcore Nikke player, Nikke needs to die. Nikke's a garbage game. I'll take the hate for that. Nikke sucks, dude. I quit that game. It's trash. What placing even is Nikke? That's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11th place. Hey, okay, at least it's not top 10. Thank God. What about Blue Archive? Speak clearly into the mic. Blue Archive? Listen, if you're a Blue Archive enjoyer, you could kindly TOS yourself. Thank you. I hate Blue Archive, dude. What else is going on here, though? So we have Blue Archive had a pretty big jump up to 11 million, making it like 13th place. That's pretty big. What else has happened here? Epic 7? Epic 7 at 8 million. That's a huge jump. Epic 7 was always like the 3 to 4 million like king. It stayed consistent for so long. Having this big of a jump is pretty crazy. That almost doubled its revenue this month. I think I heard that was a hype Moonlight banner unit. I think it was ML Luna or something. That's pretty cool. Hatsune Miku, yeah, almost 7 million. Let's go. We'd love to see it. I don't play Arknights at all. Snowbreak keeps jumping up numbers. You know, fucking Coomers, dude. They really are just that powerful. Like, yeah, just trash everything else about your game and go full tits and ass, and you know, it works. It works in the end. Summoner's War still going crazy. How the hell is that game still alive? I wanted to say here, how the can we kill Fire Emblem Heroes, please? Like, please. This game is so ass. How has this been going on for 7 years? It sucks so bad, dude. I would want nothing more than for Fire Emblem Heroes to EOS, and then the Intelligent Systems give this game the IP to like a Korean or Chinese developer, probably Korean developer, and they make a new gacha game, a new higher-end gacha game for it. It'll be great. Now, why not a Japanese developer? Because Japanese developers have completely, utterly just given up on gacha game. They're just fucking cash grabs, dude. Like, they're so rough. When was the last time we had a good Japanese gacha game? I'll tell you. Fucking Uma Musume. Last one. Last time that happened. It's been fucking years since we've had a good Japanese gacha game, dude. And they're all just cash grabs, man. And I don't trust any Japanese studios to make a good gacha anymore, because they've completely... They completely tapped out, dude. People like Gaku and IMAS. Honestly, I don't know much about the IMAS games, but like I consider like the rhythm gacha games. I consider them like a different genre. Like I don't consider Hatsune Miku in the same vein as everything else, you know? It's not rhythm. Oh, there's an IMAS that's a real gacha game? Damn. I've barely heard about it. It's idol raising? I see. And what else is going on here? The Persona 1 has been dropping down a bit. Honkai Impact, again, is like pretty low. It's way lower than it used to be. I heard that 2.0 has not been a great run through for it. It hasn't been going out. Brown Dust, unfortunately, had a big drop off, almost half his revenue for the month. Brown Dust 2 is a fun game. If you like TNA and you want better TNA than Nikkei, play Brown Dust 2, way better. And the gameplay is like auto chess tactics, which is pretty neat. It gives huge old school RPG vibes. And the story isn't a Master Love game. Thank goodness. I fucking hate Master Love games, dude. They're so trash. And it's not a Master Love game. So it's pretty neat for that regard. Even though like it has male characters that they've pretty much given up on. But you know, at least they exist and it's not a Master Love game. So I'll take it. Pokemasters X is still dropping down. Yeah. I'm surprised Pokemasters X is still going. I guess just the Pokemon name. The whales are still giving it 1 million a month, so it's still going. I saw a video on YouTube about like someone like compiled like all the issues with Pokemon Masters X in like a 50-minute video. I should watch that. That sounds like a fun time. Because I used to be really into Pokemas, but I just like I wasn't super into it. But I played it a lot, but I couldn't really jive with the combat system. It was a really weird combat system. So whenever I kept trying to get back in, because I love the Pokemon characters, the combat kept just turning me off. All right, though, guys, that's it for the monthly PvP chart. We got to talk about it today. You know, ZZZ had a good start, but I think there are some potential concerns for how it's gonna place itself within the top big three. And you know, we gotta keep watching it. Also, shout outs to my hoping every single day for Fire Emblem Heroes to die, so we can get a good Fire Emblem game, please get us a good Fire Emblem gacha game or a good Fire Emblem game. You killed Cypher. You killed Fire Emblem Cypher. I hate you. All right, there we go. That's the end of the video.